Hey everyone, I am Nisa Bowen, and this is.
Tim Hall.
We are here to talk about psychological skills training, therapeutic body work, and everything else that can be good for and related to health and well being. Let me introduce myself first. I'm a dual citizenship woman. I'm Brazilian and American, but I lived my whole life in Brazil actually. I'm married and mother of a 3-year-old girl. We just moved to the US for a period of living a new experience. I'm in St. Pete, Florida now, and I'm an enthusiast and practitioner in some of those therapeutic fields we're going to talk about. But my friend Tin here, he overrated it. He's an American scholar, lifelong meditator, and practitioner of many well-being therapies. In his resume, we can find practices in therapeutic bodywork training, fitness and movement therapies, psychological skills training, and even nutrition and metabolic health abilities. Whoa, just too much. I'm excited to know him a little bit better. So let's listen to him. Tell us, Tim, about your overall journey.
Thanks, Nisa. Happy to do that. So, what led me into this entire kind of fork in the road or life pathway at some point years and years ago was a shoulder injury. So, I dislocated my shoulder around the age of 21 and had some issues. And a few years later, it started to bother me. And so I went to see my chiropractor. He recommended I see him several times a week for 6 months and see his massage therapist. And I was an IT guy. And, I've been working, I don't know if anybody watching this has heard of mainframe COBOL, but that's my IT software background. And so I was back then in my 20s when I injured myself, and when I started to seek therapy years later, when I was starting to get some neck aches and kind of back aches from it, I didn't have any clue about this world whatsoever. I sat in a cubicle, I did my IT work, and I was happy with that. Well, one thing led to another, and I actually found myself enrolled in massage therapy school. And I'd never had a massage at that point, so it was kind of a strange thing to do. But I thought I'd get my shoulder worked on, and it actually turned out to be kind of fun. I still had no intention of switching careers or actually doing anything with it. But then years later, just kind of as a fun thing, I thought, what if I got a part-time job on the weekends, doing massage therapy? And quite frankly, I was terrified. That was way outside of my comfort zone, and I recognized that. And so, yeah, I actually used that opportunity and that experience to kind of get over my anxiety about working with new people and clients, and kind of break up the personality of the IT world.
Mm-hmm.
And then once and once I got into it, it actually turned out to be kind of fun. And then you get positive feedback and you think, oh, this is actually a good thing. And so I started taking training, and then I took more training, and it kind of opened the door to all these certification processes that are fun and very satisfying to do. And one thing led to another, and I just kept going down that rabbit hole, while continuing to work my IT job. So I had the time and the resources to be able to do all that. So that's kind of how I spent my fun time. It might not seem fun to a lot of people, but I really, enjoyed it. And then as the years go by, you just kind of learn a little more. And then I decided to get my master's degree. And so that turned out to be, I wanted it to be something body work related. And the closest I came to and was really happy with was kinesiology, which loosely translates to movement therapy or exercise science.
That's pretty good.
Right. So that really, I thought, well, that's going to complement the body work. People can come in, I'll give them corrective exercises. And, it kind of made sense in my mind. Now, it didn't really unfold that way, but I learned a whole bunch about, the exercise science and the fitness and physiology and blah, blah, blah. And so once I got into that, I thought, boy, the person better know something about nutrition. So I got a graduate certificate in applied nutrition at the same time. And that was, great. And those two degrees then availed me the opportunity to do other trainings and programs. So I went into exercise physiology, strength training, and a variety of other topics. Now, the orthopedic massage therapy, that's still kind of my number one practice that I'm doing right now in the office. But we're branching out, and I know that everybody's heard the jack of all trades and master of none. The full quote for that is jack of all trades and master of none is oftentimes better than a master of one. So my goal here is to be my goal is to be a generalist.
Okay.
And then, if I have a specialty, here and there, that's just all the better if I can do it. But I'm trying to get a well-rounded therapeutic intervention complementary practice. That's my goal. And so the meditation just complements all of that. You've got your diet and nutrition, activity and exercise, sleep and relaxation, and then stress. So meditation, amongst other things, is very well known for its ability to be stress relieving, relaxing. And, there are definitely other angles that a person might take to bring meditation into their life. And it complements, a whole variety of the topics that we're talking about. So whether it's, an ache and a pain, or the doctor says you might be pre-diabetic, like there's definite ways to tackle these. And there's not necessarily any one way. That's one of the principles that I work with, that I've learned, is that everybody's very different. There's definitely some general principles that apply to the vast majority of people, but everybody, can, if for optimal, efficient results, needs a customized approach. So that's where I, gained a little bit from having taken a variety of trainings from all the different perspectives to try and zero in on that. And so here we are now. I've got a variety of other projects. At some point later, we're going to talk about the etheric consciousness courses, I'm sure. But, so far the topics I've covered are what I do in office at my studio here in town down the street. So that's kind of my journey as to how I got into this kind of one-on-one therapeutic, alternative and complementary therapeutic fields.
I got it. Well, it seems to be a very intense path. And do you think, is there any IT skills that you use in these practices too?
Yeah. Good question. So I like to problem solve. So when you're in the IT world, you're problem solving. Either you're creating a solution for the business need, or something happened, something broke, and there's a problem, and now it needs to be fixed. And sometimes it's got to be fixed like right now. Other times it's a very complex problem. And that's the part of the IT world that I enjoy. Now, where I find that in this health and fitness is the human body and the psyche is infinitely more complex than any computer.
Oh, yeah. Right? Good to know this. It's good to know this. You know better than me, but it's good to know this.
And so I can really kind of use that problem solving part of the mind to kind of, figure out the best way to help somebody. And it's because it's not ones and zeros like with computers, it's just so complex. But I
zeros, emotions, past, present.
Right. Computers don't have emotions.
Yeah. That's cool. That's very good. So this is probably why you decided to name your work and your website Integral Practic, because it integrates many practices. Am I right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So the practice of integration. And so meditation itself is a practice of integration, integrating the higher and the lower, the inner and the outer, and bringing about a unity of consciousness at some point, striving for that. But then all the different aspects of life, like they're already all integrated. But a lot of times we live varying degrees as if life were compartmentalized. And it's just not so. You can have stress at work that affects your family. You can have relationship stress that affects your health. And these things are all intertwined. And so, yeah, it's the practice of integration, realizing integration, working on one aspect of the persona or the physiology and having a global effect everywhere and vice
Yes,
versa.
spread.
Mm-hmm.
Great, great. Yeah, very cool. Hey, everybody listening to us, don't forget to check Tim's website, integrapractic.com. There you get to know more about him, his services, and his courses. And we're going to get through all of them somehow, but feel free and dive into this world of different and integrate concepts. You're going to like it. I assure I do. So awesome. Now, there's a peculiar fact here. Tim and we're not close friends. We barely know each other. We're getting to know each other just now. We share a very good friend that brought us together. She knows I love this subject and I always have had so many questions about them. And she knows Tim very well and his capabilities. She keeps saying and defending that his knowledge should be spread worldwide. So to present ourselves better, I'm going to ask you the fateful question, Tim. Who are you, Tim Hall? But first, wait, let us try to bring a deeper perspective here. We both study body talk. Me as a practitioner and you as a practitioner and one of the lead instructors. And when we study general consciousness, it was shown that our five senses are very important in our process of individuation and perception of who we are. So engaged in these five senses, touch, taste, smell, hearing, and sight. Who is this individual, Tim Hall?
I'm still trying to figure that one out myself. So yeah, the body talk and my relationship with the late Dr. John Belthame has been an integral part of my life for more than 20 years. So it was a very, very good experience. I got into body talk and following John all over the country, also kind of quite by accident. It was never originally my goal. I'll tell that story about how I met John maybe at another time, but it really plunged me, deep into his philosophy and his system. And so I became a practitioner. And then he brought out his Parama level courses, I think 2003, give or take a year. And I went deep with that, really enjoyed that, which by now, looking back on it, it's considered the flagship course or the graduate level course in the body talk system. And it's over 20 years old. So that just kind of blows my mind a little bit.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. When you said 2003, I was like, did he say 2003?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it was from that time.
Yeah, I think that was unit 1, and then unit 2 came out, I think 2005. So
You were there.
I was there. I was one of the first Parama designated practitioners. And then I just kept following John around, and I attended just, I don't know, dozens and dozens of courses and events, and hosted him here a couple times in the Scottsdale, Phoenix area. And then, we developed a friendship or a mentorship or whatever you want to call it. And I was an instructor for a brief period. I didn't really pursue that avenue nearly as much as I did the practitioner or research role. So I was working with John kind of behind the scenes for many, many years in a research capacity. And it was very, very satisfying. Actually, since John has, stopped touring and teaching, which was several years before his passing, I didn't have, I would see John, and I'd visit John and talk to John, but I didn't have nearly the the course, the body talk material to delve into anymore. And so a lot of the programs and courses that I did that are listed on my website that you and I were mentioning earlier, I kind of, for lack of having the body talk, I I poured my time and attention into these health and wellness fields. And so the way that
that's somehow a part of what you're studying anyway.
Yeah, and it ties back nicely to this whole concept of integration. So,
yes,
right at this point in my body talk career, and with the post Parama and all the courses John did, it's evident now how to integrate all of this knowledge, information that I have, or that anybody out there who's done similar. You can integrate that into your sessions. And maybe that's not exactly obvious to everybody, and that's something we can talk about in detail at another time also. But that, boy, what John has given people who have, gone deep with, his advanced courses and the Parama material and the procedures especially, boy, what a gold mine that has been, to give a framework and like a structure to be able to allow an individual to just flow all of that information and through a consciousness-based energy healing system. It's just endlessly fascinating to me. I think about it all the time. I mean, John's
it is fascinating to me too.
Right. It is. It just baffles me. I mean, it really kind of lights a fire inside. And John might be gone, but I'm still every part of involved in this in my own consciousness as I possibly can be. So maybe I kind of deviated from the question there a bit.
Yeah,
but
I was going to say that, but what about Tim Hall?
Yeah.
Who is this guy?
Well, for 20 years I was body talk. I mean, not I was body talk, but I was like, that consumed my energy and my attention. And so that I was just like poured into that.
Diving in.
It was just, it would, and without John here, physically, I kind of almost had to reinvent myself. And so I love to research. I love to work with concepts and ideas, bring different seemingly unrelated ideas together, and preferably, hopefully, in some sort of practical application so that it's useful in life in some manner or another to, benefit something somehow. So that kind of researcher nature of me, who's fascinated with ideas and how to put new ideas into practice, that will probably be with me for quite a while. And so I'm just always looking for new avenues and opportunities to put that into practice. People, I might be out and about and somebody will say, "Oh, what do you like to do for fun?" And it's kind of an embarrassing
you like
answer.
to research.
I like to read and research. Yeah,
I like to
that's
research
what I do for fun.
Any hobbies, like anything that is different from this? Like, I don't know, walk with. I know you have a dog, don't you?
I do. Yeah, I've got a 13-pound white fluffy poodle named Barney. But he's pretty easy. He's pretty easy going.
Good.
So I work from home. I meditate a bunch. I exercise here at home, and then I go and I've got my clients at the office, and otherwise I'm working on projects. I haven't watched TV in I don't know how many years. I just love to pour myself into. I've got at any given time I've got multiple projects going on at once.
I know. So yes, I tell everybody that I am here in Tempe. Did you tell them where are you? I don't think so.
Okay, so right, I've lived most of my adult life in Scottsdale, Arizona, or Phoenix, and right now I'm in a little town called Cave Creek, which is a northmost suburb of Phoenix, Scottsdale. It's a country town, or it's a cowboy town. Down the street, there's a bar where they do line dancing, and on Wednesdays and Fridays there's a rodeo.
You were there every Friday, I can assure.
Probably no. It's a
I
fun little
don't think
town,
so.
though.
Good to know. Now let's continue to play. Let's play a game, team,
Hmm.
and try to present ourselves in a more relaxed and even goofy way. Why not? Because, we shouldn't take life so seriously every time. I propose we tell each other two weird or funny stories about ourselves. One gotta be true and the other a lie. And we have to guess which is the truth so we can describe it a little bit better. I start, okay?
Okay.
So let me think my two stories. Let me do my poker face. So you need to guess. First story is once I took a flight and it was supposed to be a short 1 hour flight, but it was taking too long. We're already almost 2 hours and there was no sign of landing. Suddenly, I decided to check with the passenger next to me if he also thought that it was taking too long to arrive. Then I discovered that that flight was not the one that I was supposed to be in. That one was going to another destination, and there were still 2 hours to the flight to fly it already. So somehow, after they checked my ticket at the entrance, I don't know what happened, but I got distracted and entered a wrong aisle, and I just got in a wrong flight. That's the first story.
Okay.
The second one, poker face again. As you know, my husband and I, or my family, we're new here at the US. So we decided to understand a little bit better the national sport, football. We don't have football in Brazil, so I don't know nothing about it. So we watched some videos about the plays and the roles, know a little bit about the team, and we bought some snacks, put our daughter to bed, and we went to watch the Powerball final at the TV.
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl, sorry. You see, as I'm so into sports. It was a long game. We got a little lost, distracted, but we finished the Super Bowl game. But when I went online, I realized that no one was commenting on the score. So nobody was talking about the end of the game. So I started researching it. And then I realized that the game was not the right game. We were watching a game from 3 years ago. So, and we finished it. So I actually realized that because we didn't see any show, any famous concert, in the middle of it. And I know that it always happened. So that was the second story. Which one is the lie? Which one is the true? Tell me, Tim Hall.
Okay. So I've got to believe that there's probably tighter security or checking on the airplanes, making it extra hard to get on the wrong flight. However, also feel like that could be like a trick story, and that could exactly have been what happened. But the football story is pretty darn good. Doesn't it seems reasonable, and there was more detail. So I'm going to say the football story was real and the airplane story was a lie.
You're very good at it.
Oh, okay.
It's a therapeutic skill, understanding who is lying, who is telling the truth. So that is the truth. As you can see, we are very into sports family, but no.
Right.
I'm not into sports at all, but I want to be. I really want to be. I want to change that in my life. The first story is not mine, but I know a guy who did this. I know a guy who has this story. So I don't know what happened, but he got in the wrong flight.
No, wow.
I think no way that could happen with me because when it comes to travel, I'm very careful. I love to travel. That's me. I love to travel, and I'm not so much into sports. So, what about you, Tim? Tell me your stories.
Let's see. So John Veltheim was a karate champ in Australia, and his karate style was similar to the karate style by which I got a second degree black belt. And so he would always joke because he was only a first degree black belt. And so it was like Matsumura Shorin-ryu, and then his was similar to that, Shotokan. And so the other story is I worked for American Airlines for several years. And so if there was a free flight, or not a free flight, but an open seat on the plane, the employees could just take the seat and fly for free. So I got to be on a first class flight to London from Phoenix, which is unusual, but there was a brief period where you could get that super long flight, and I got it first class both ways. I was able to walk around London for about 2 hours. So I took a first class flight to London, walked around for 2 hours, and then flew back. So, I mean, customs was, a little bit of a hassle, and sitting on that plane for so long, but first class is amazing if you can get it, especially when you don't have to pay for it. So.
Oh my gosh. The second story is much more detailed. So, but I think the first is the truth. It seems more like Joan, the first one. So I gotta go with the first story is the truth, and the second is the lie, because I don't know if you had time to work for American Airlines in all this research you have been doing.
Yeah, you're correct.
Yay!
Yeah. So John got a lot of fun out of that. But I did work for American Airlines for 4.5 years, and I took a lot of free flights. It's just that I never went to London.
Any first class?
First class is amazing. Yeah, that's a real. Yeah.
Did you take it for free? Oh, good.
Yeah, free first class. That's a good perk for working for the airlines. Yeah.
Good job. I like that. Very good. So let's go back to the schedule. I know, as you said, you had some important teachers and mentors in your life along this journey. So tell us more about them. I know it was not only John. You talked about a little bit about him, but I know you had more. And who were they?
Yeah, so one of the primary influences in my life was a man named Charlie Lutes. So Charlie Lutes and his wife Helen Lutes were, they were almost a generation older than my parents, and they were the first two people who learned transcendental meditation back in 1958 by the Maharishi, who probably most people watching this have at least heard of transcendental meditation. And it was very popular. I mean, it's still very popular today. It's, gone around the world. And I'm not like affiliated with the organization or what they're up to in any official capacity. I'm just a person who, does a daily meditation practice. And in fact, side note, I am an authorized instructor for the Chopra method for meditation, which is basically the exact same process, but a different way of choosing the individualized mantra that the person would learn to meditate with. So anyway, Charlie and Helen were active, in the meditation world before I was born. And my parents somehow, living in a small town in Iowa, somehow discovered, meditation, and they weren't really even hippies. This was back in the early 70s.
How many kids they had? Because probably that was the reason.
Well, so me and my two younger sisters, and yeah, but
were you quiet kids or?
Yeah.
Not?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
We need to know the reason.
That's a good one. I'll have to ask my parents.
Yes.
Yeah. So they got into meditation before I was even born. And so I just grew up with, this man named Charlie Lutes coming to town, giving lectures. This was way, way, way back before cell phones, let alone smartphones. And so it was, the olden days where people would get on planes and fly and then talk in front of a group of people, and there was no real recordings, and so that was it. And so I grew up with a very intimate relationship with meditation, and especially with Charlie and Helen. And then I was kind of fortunate enough to spend some time with them in their last years on this earth. So both Charlie and Helen passed away in 2001, and they lived in Scottsdale, Arizona, and that's kind of how I ended up here as well. And I find it ironic or coincidental or just kind of interesting that I met John Valtime 6 or 7 months after Charlie passed away.
Wow.
So I just went, I lost Charlie and Helen, not lost them, but they were,
I know.
they lived a full life, and it was time for them to move on to bigger and better things. And that's how I kind of stumbled into my relationship with John. And it was really good. I probably would have quit meditating had it not been for, Charlie's influence about the importance of it. And, I was a kid, so I was influenceable, and I started to take it really seriously as a late teen, early 20s. And I'm sure glad I did, because I just had them kind of in my head, and that's what I would like to be for other people who, are not sure about meditation, or they think, oh, I tried it and it didn't work for me. Or a lot of people say, oh, I can never quiet my mind, or I've got too much thoughts. And I think that's just an unfortunate misinterpretation of what meditation is about, because I can't quiet my mind, and I have lots of thoughts, but I'm a, successful meditator, and not every meditation you're floating in bliss. And I just think that, if I hadn't had, that interaction, I probably would have quit, and I'm happy I didn't. So I'm also, trying to make myself available to people who want to have a long-term meditation practice, but they run into roadblocks along the way. So that's a very important part of like kind of who I am, I guess.
Great. Yeah. So you had they as mentors and John as mentor also. They were the principal mentors in your life.
Mm-hmm. I would say definitely.
Yeah, that's a privilege to have such mentors in life. And I can assure that they were very crucial in setting foundations for your practices. So if you could define these foundations in a few words, what would they be?
Consistency. So there's various paths that you could call it. And without going into detail, one of them is a devotional. And just the kind of the word devotional might conjure up an idea of like powerful emotions, or some sort of unpleasant sacrifice, or like a unwilling surrender. There's a negative connotation to that, but devotion as a pathway is considered very valuable or desirable, because it kind of pulls you along rather than kind of fighting your way through it. It's like it just kind of sucks you in, kind of a thing. And another way to think about this idea of devotion is, do you value the object of the devotion? Or another way to put it is, are you making it a priority? Are you giving importance to that which is important? And along the meditation process or the body talk process, those things factor in there as well. Are you taking it seriously? And not in a unpleasant way, that's a fun way, but are you making it a priority in your life? And that's something.
Are you present? Are you present for that circumstance?
Right, exactly. So are you sitting down to meditate with your phone in your lap and you're sipping coffee, but your eyes are closed? or are you like really taking your time to get away and make sure that it's an effective process? And with the body talk system, are you at whatever level of understanding and practice you're at, are you doing it the way that you were taught to do it? Or are you honoring the system that was given to you? Are you mixing and matching things in a weird way? There's a right and a wrong way to do anything, and you can half-ass anything, and you can lie to yourself, and there's self-deception all along the way. But the path of devotion has a built-in mechanism whereby you only benefit when you're honoring the process. And so that's kind of a critical element. And it's a lot more simple than you think. Like, for example, probably a lot of people have heard that when you learn to meditate, you're supposed to do it, twice a day. Basically, the point there is that you're taking it seriously and you're doing it every day. It's not like, oh, I've got time today, I'll do it. Oh, I don't have time today, I'll just skip a day. That's not taking, a thing very seriously. And I didn't understand this for a long time, but that is one of the key ways to set up the devotional aspect for gaining the benefit out of the meditation. And Body Talk has its own kind of slightly different variation on that. But once that kind of kicks in and accelerates the subjective and objective outcomes for that process. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I love that. I love a phrase that you said, honoring the process. I'm going to take this for my meditation this week. This is very relevant and necessary. Are you honoring the process? So, Tim, I'm thrilled with this whole conversation. I hope it's just the first of many more, and I look forward to it. So I know you...
This is great. Yeah, thanks.
I know you have a profound study of the etheric field that ended up becoming a course, the Etheric Consciousness course. Mm-hmm. And this will certainly be one of our next topics. But for now, I'd like to thank you and thank everyone for listening to us. I'm also inviting everyone once again to connect with Tim from his website, integralpractic.com. And do you have any other social media that you want to share?
As a matter of fact, at this exact time, I'm working with a guy who is helping me understand how social media works. I don't really, like putting my mm-hmm. my stuff out there. So he's working on me. So we're going to have something up and running soon. But in the meantime, yeah, just stay in contact with my website and email me.
Yes. Which email is, which one?
Yeah, integralpractic@gmail.
Great. So if you have any questions for Tim, send them to the email and we will try to cover it in our next topics.
All right.
So do you want to say goodbye, Tim?
Yeah, goodbye, and thank you very much.
Once again, my name is Naisa, and you can find me in my Instagram, Awakening Us, and we see you soon. Bye-bye. Very nice to meet you, Tim.
Thank you. Bye.